Welcome to Cooking with Grandpa. A new little tidbit we're doing here on YouTube while I'm giving away some of my most famous and beautiful recipes here this morning, you know. So hang on, babies, this is going to be a ride. So this morning we're going to make either breakfast biscuits or scones. Haven't decided which, but we'll decide real quick which ones we're doing here. I got a few leftover biscuits from yesterday that are just awesome. In fact, I ought to show them to you. Let me grab one here. So I'll probably make scones today, because this is like, you know, a scone kind of day. The sun's shining. It's looking real good out there. Look at this. I got all my little partners in here want to help me consume this beautiful biscuit. I just want you to see a beautiful biscuit, baby. That's a biscuit. That's what we made yesterday, you know. And these guys are all ready for theirs. They're my little kitchen helpers, so I let them help me. So let's get back here where you can see them. Come here, kid. You want a little piece of biscuit? There you go, baby. That's for Missy. Yeah. That's for my dude. That's for Cyrus. Yeah. And Bella and everybody else is still asleep. So we're going to save the rest of this for them for later. Okay? So they get another little treat later. I get another little treat later, you know. But you always want to share with your animals. It puts blessings in your food. Yes, it does. So, let me first off wash my hands so I get all the morning stuff and the day stuff off of my old hands here. So, I'll get this done up. You got to have clean hands, or you can't cook in my kitchen, you know what I mean? There. So that's the first step. Get your hands all cleaned up. Get yourself rolling that way, right? Right. Okay. Got that one down. Second step. You gotta have a good cup of coffee. So Grandpa's got a little of his special blend right here in the old carafe. We'll get some of this going here. Yeah. Come on, give me coffee. There. Now you gotta have a good cup of coffee. Keep in mind that I'm baking it about the 8,200 foot elevation in this place, so probably whatever temps I use on my oven, yours is going to be less because you're at lower ground. So first let's start our oven up. Okay, we got that. We'll set it at 400 and start it. Okay, so that preheats our oven. We'll double check the oven and make sure we didn't leave anything in there. We didn't do that. So here we go. Alright. So, you gotta have your stuff all organized here. These are organic, by the way. Yeah. Man. So first thing, whole wheat flour. 1 cup of whole wheat flour. This will make about a dozen biscuits, this recipe. So, okay, so we get the flour up and we smooth it off. You get a nice even full cup there. 1 cup of Mountain Mama whole wheat organic flour. There's that all up and ready to go. Alright. Then, we'll put that away. Get this stuff out of our way as we're going along here. Next ingredient. I bet you can't imagine what that might be. 1 cup of whole wheat organic unbleached white flour. Yeah. And that's what gives it its texture. The whole wheat is for taste. The texture is the white. Alright, then we'll leave this can open because you're going to need it again pretty soon. But we'll set it back here out of our way. Alright, next ingredient. About a half a teaspoon of salt. So let's get us, and we use Redmond sea salt. I don't know if you can see that very well, but that's an awesome salt. Alright, that goes in there. Redmond sea salt. If I can get the lid back on, I'm doing good. So then we'll put this out of our way over here. Well, keep stuff out of your way as much as you can. Now here's a real prime ingredient. And here you're going to see me use approximately 3 tablespoons. because of our elevation, we have to use a little extra. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 2.5, and 3. Okay. Your elevation, you might only want to use 2 tablespoons. But use aluminum-free baking powder. Don't use, see that says it right on the bottle. Use aluminum-free, man. Don't use that crap with aluminum powder and you'll kill yourself. Alright. So you just want to keep it as wholesome and as organic as you possibly can. What's our next ingredient? Since we're making scones, now if you're making biscuits, that's the recipe so far. Making scones, you got to add a half cup of sugar. Alright? And here we go. And of course we use what can only be described. You can see this texture and color here. Crystallized cane sugar. That's what it is. And there's our half a cup right there. I just do this eyeball. You can do it more precise if you want to. Just try to keep things rolling. Keep it on an even keel. Alright. And like I say, if you're making breakfast biscuits, don't add any sugar. We're making scones today, we need a little sugar in it. A little sweeten it up in that. Then you just mix all these dry ingredients together in a mixing bowl. About as even as you can. You're going to mix a little more here in a minute anyway when you add the emulsifier. So you don't even know what an emulsifier is, do you? Well, in this case, it's organic shortening. And we're running low on this, so I'm not sure we got enough here to do this rest. Oh, yeah, just barely. So I might add a little substitute for it. There's 1, 2 tablespoons. And what you want is a minimum of 3. So since we're running short on this, we will add a little bit of oil here in a minute when we add the liquid ingredients, a little organic sunflower oil. Now this is a totally organic shortening. It's not hydrogenated, it's made out of palm kernel oil or something like that. And babies, it's good for you. It's gluten-free, it's vegan, dairy-free, 0 trans fat, it's kosher and all that good stuff. So just to give you an idea, and if you need the brand, it's called Spectrum, yeah. I'm sure there's other brands out there that are equally as good. Now we kind of stir that little bit of shortening into the dry ingredients, and you get one of these little masher things. If you don't have one of these, get yourself a fork, you know. Alright. So now we just get in here, push down and twist. You want to get this stuff down to little pearl-sized pieces inside of your flour mix here, you know. So that's what we do. We get pearl-sized pieces. The main ingredient here, as always, is love. You know, that's what you put into it. If you love what you're doing, your food just comes out right, huh? Yeah. So, now we're looking good. Just get this stiff mixed in here. Missy is very scientific. She sits right at my feet while I'm cooking, watches every move I make. You know, she's such a sweetheart dog. I'm house sitting for a friend of mine. Actually, it's my ex-wife, so I'm house sitting for her this week. And so I'm back with my dog family this week. I've got all of them here, all 6 of them. They're not just Angel. Angel's kind of my dog. She stays with me, but these other guys stay over here. But they are great company when you're cooking. Make sure you have a dog or somebody around it. Keep you going. Okay. So I don't know if you can see these. I'll try and get one out. There we go. So little pieces about that size there, or down a little smaller. That's what you want to do. Little pearl-sized pieces of short. Okay, and like I said, since I was about a tablespoon short, so I'm going to put a couple tablespoons of oil in the final recipe. It doesn't work as good as shortening, but it's a good substitute when you don't have anything else. Alright, so now we got that far. What do you think the next ingredient is? Okay. You can use water in this, or you can use moo juice. In this case, I'm using moo juice. So we'll go to the fridge here. Get some moo juice. Yeah. Get some moo juice. 1 cup of moo juice. This is really easy. So Our moo juice comes in a carton nowadays. We used to get it from the goat and it came right off the ranch here, but anymore it's out of the carton. So 1 cup of moo juice. Sometimes, a little trick I'll tell you. Sometimes instead of just straight up milk like that, I will use about 1/3 of a cup of sour cream and then just reduce my milk by about 1/4 of a cup or so. Oh man, if I was feeling feisty this morning, but I don't have any sour cream. Otherwise I would add it right now. Then you can stir this up. Remember, we want to add a little bit of oil, but let's get this milk stirred down in here a little bit. Yeah, so you see how we stir this. Just stir it, make sure you mix in the edges and the bottom real good. And you just start like that. Now we're going to add 1/3 of a cup, or not 1/3 of a cup, what am I saying? About 2 tablespoons of oil to make up for the 1 tablespoon of shortening we didn't have. So there we go, a couple tablespoons of oil, which makes it a nice gummy mix. We love the gummy stuff, don't we, kid? Nah, you'll see how it comes out here in a minute, man. It's really, really good. But we're getting down to the hand mixing stage now. Yeah, this looks just about right. You see how that looks a little tight, a little crumbly? I wish you could feel it, but it's a little tight and crumbly in there. See? But it will mix up really well. That's just about the stage you want. It's got to be just a tiny bit to the dry side. But it makes really good biscuits and scones. Alright. So, got to roll up our sleeves now. Let's put the love in it, you know? Yeah. Alright. Here it goes. So, let me get this down. Okay, I mash it down from the top first, and then I take my hand and I swoop it up from the sides and pack it back in on itself 3 or 4 times till all the ingredients are pretty mixed up in the bowl and I've got a nice consistent batter, you know? Nothing's too crumbly. It makes a nice little ball. It'll crumble off a little on the sides. It just does that because it's a drier mix. And that's okay, as we can get it all mixed in later. Okay, then you got to share the little stuff that lands on your fingers and sticks to your hand. You got to share that with your animals too, don't you? Yeah, got to do that, don't we, kids? Yeah. So here's for you two. Then we'll go rinse off our fingers real quick. If it sticks to your hand worse than that, then you probably got it too wet, you know? Add a little flour if that's the case. Alright. We got ourselves rinsed up, washed off. Now we're ready to lay it out and make it. But you know what? I want to cut up a little apple and throw in this one because it'll go good. Now that can sit for a little while, it won't hurt a thing. It can just sit there just fine. Don't let it sit too long, but just fine. I'm going to grab an apple out of the fridge. We're going to add tiny bits of apple because that makes scones taste so good. There's the oven ready. Well, tell you what, we're low on apples, but I found some good fresh premium cranberries. Oh, fucking A. You're gonna love this shit, man, I'm telling you. You put like a half, 3/4 cup of cranberries into this mix, out of this world. So let me do that real quick. Get our scissors here. Yeah, get our scissors here and cut off the edge. And if you can get fresh cranberries, they're excellent. Anything goes in here. Raisins, cranberries, dates. I got some dates too. We might add that too. But let's put just work. Oh, that's about 3/4 of a cup right there of cranberries. And tell you what I'm going to add to it too, is a few little chopped up dates as well, because they add a really spunky flavor to it too. We'll save the apples for another time. We've got these little chunks of dates here. Now I'm just going to throw a small handful of that in there too, because that, and if you got some raisins, throw a few raisins in it too. So let's throw a few raisins in it this morning. What the hell? We'll make it right. And I'll tell you what else is a really good addition to it if you don't have we got a tiny box of raisins. They're not organic, but they're going to do. So we're going to add them to it too. This is going to make some scrumptious darn. Make sure you break these raisins up. Yeah. Yeah. So we get this stuff in on this mix. You just don't want these raisins too mixed up. And I'm using one of these little boxes. We're going to make this one a real fruity mix this time, man. But not to worry about it. It'll all moisten up. It'll be one of the most beautiful little scones you ever ate in your life, I'll tell you. Okay. Now for really creative cooking, you want to have a little shot of something in your coffee, but then you might be careful that you don't mess up on your ingredients or fall on the floor while you're cooking. Me, it's early in the morning. I'm drinking coffee. God, that's good. Okay, now we're going to mix all these cranberries and shit in here. Don't worry if they pop a little bit while you're mixing, because that's what they got to do. And we try to minimize the mixing, but in this case, because I was a little late getting this shit in here, then we got to overmix a little bit, but it'll be just fine. Don't worry about it. It will work. It just does. It's the way it is. Really wished I'd have had those apples, but dates and cranberries and raisins is going to be just fine. Just got to get them all mixed in here. Alright, so that's a pretty good mix, and I'll show you how to finish this and get it nice and uniform. We'll have to get it out of the bowl here in a minute, but next we got to put down some flour here on our mixing board and spread it around. Get the scissors out of our way and spread it around. Make you a nice thin coat of flour on your mixing board. Don't do too much, because that'll ruin your dang recipe. So you just get a nice thin coat on there. Then you get this stuff out and you mash it out flat the first time. Mash it out flat. Yeah. Down to about a 1/2 inch or so. 1/2, 3/4 of an inch. When you're done with this mix, you're going to have something that looks a lot like the state of Montana. Okay, so we got all these extra little things in here. We'll mash them into the middle. So you got all these cranberries and everything. Ooh, that cranberry juice popping all over the place. So you want to get as much of this mixed in here as you can. But see, what you're going to do is fold it over here in a minute. That does one of two things. It mixes it well, gets the moisture right. And when you're using extra ingredients like this, then it gets those all mixed around too. So you get into a pretty uniform state. If you seem to have too much on the edges, like I do right here, I'll pull it back in and mash it back in where I can. Okay. So now we got that. So now we just fold it over. And you wind up with something that looks like a state of Montana. Now I'm about 1.5 inches thick here. I'm going to go down. I'm going to mash it out a ways and go down. I wish you could see that straight up, but it looks like the state of Montana roughly. So I should call these Montana biscuits just for in memory of that. Okay, so I'm going to mash them down to about 3/4 of an inch tall. I do this by hand. Some folks will use lazy things like a rolling pin, but I just like to keep my hands in the mix as much as possible. Okay. So, now we got all that done. And we want to get the edges nice and even. You know, don't want no stragglers hanging out there. Want it to look as pretty as you possibly can. Yeah. There we go. Now what do you suppose the next ingredient is? There shouldn't even be one. Now if that's biscuits, just get your biscuit cutter out and cut them up. Just remember, don't put sugar in it. That's a biscuit recipe. Real easy. I stole this one from Colonel Sanders a long time ago. He put out a little booklet with all his recipes in it, and I said thank you. Of course I modified it a bunch, but as you never do, you get basics from the pros, and then, you know, be creative, make it your own way. Alright, so now we've got to have a knife. Well, yeah, we've got to have a knife. So we get us out a little cutting knife here. Boy, I wish you could see that. If I could pick this board up, I'd show you, but I'll show you in the pan here in a minute. Alright, what's next? What do you think? Cinnamon and sugar, you're right. So we get some cinnamon and sugar in this little bowl here, and then we'll be rocking it. So I would say about a third a cup of sugar, tad more than that. That ain't quite enough. That's plenty there. Okay. Now you want to add a bunch of cinnamon. It's almost something you can't use too much of, but you know, and I use the Vietnamese cinnamon. It's the best Vietnamese organic cinnamon. And I add about an equivalent amount. You can see it in the pan here, or the bowl here. You add about an equivalent amount of sugar and cinnamon. You know, let's take a look here. Okay, see, there's a nice coating of cinnamon on top, so that's probably a tablespoon or so. And you just want it to look nice and dark. If it doesn't look dark, it's not right. So gotta have another spoon to stir that up with. So grab this one and stir this stuff up. And like I say, if it don't look nice and dark when you're done stirring, then you ain't done it right. Some people will use confectioner's sugars here. It'll make kind of a glaze on there. I prefer the regular organic cane crystals. Now you can see what a nice dark mix we have here. See, I know it's a little over bright here because of the sun. There you are. That's how you want it to look. You want it to be nice and dark. And you want to smell the cinnamon because whew, this makes you hot, babies. Alright, then we just take our spring fingers, or we can just take the bowl and sprinkle it on there. And we make sure we get a good coating all the way across our little state of Montana here. A nice even coating. You can sprinkle it with your fingers. Don't matter if you spill over, you're going to clean it up afterwards. Better to have a little too much of this than not enough. It goes all over the top. Okay? And if you have a little left over, save it for your donuts or something. I got just a little bit left over, but I got a little bit to cover here yet, so I'm just going to lob it on there. I don't like too little of this. I like to have too much of this. You know? Because you're going around the edges, you're going to spill some, it don't matter. All that matters is you get it right, and it tastes right, and it's dynamite, you know? Besides, you know, cinnamon, if you look at any of the Love Potion number 9s out there, guess what you're going to find one of the prime ingredients? Cinnamon. Get you hot, baby. Okay, so now I'm at a loss as to how to cut these in real pretty shapes. So I'm just going to do my best. I'm going to make little triangles out of them this time. I could cut them into biscuit sizes, but that's not quite big enough. When you want a scone, you want something about twice, 3 times the size of a biscuit. So we will cut them in nice little pie-shaped triangles. There's one right there. And this little thing here needs to be mashed back in there. Okay. There's one. And we just put them on the pan so they'll arrange in good style. Here's 2. And if you had some nuts to put in this, it'd be real good too. I would really like to add pecans to this, but I don't have any this morning, so I'm just making do with what I got. Hi, Angel. Yeah, just making do with what we have here. Yeah. And we'll do another one that way. So that's what you do. You just cut them out of the pile and put them on the pan, man. Away you go. Yeah, that one should go that way. There. Cut this one that way. You can see they have a nice raggedy edge to them, so they look like they come out of a real professional bakery or something, you know. That one wants to be weird cut. And I don't want to weird cut it, so I'm going to start on this end and cut another triangle here. Well, we got lots of fruit and stuff in them this time, man. These are just killers. I don't know what to do with that. I'll set it to a side for a minute. Mash it in somewhere. There. Now we're getting there. Yeah. I'll make a couple big ones here for the chef. Yeah. And there you go. I'm going to mash a cranberry into the side. No, I can't. I see it. That's the beautiful thing. You get to eat your leftovers here. That fruit just kicks butt. So here we are, bunch of cowboy looking scones ready to go in a 400-degree oven. 20 minutes. Might cut it to 15 at lower elevations. You might bake at 375 there. So, give it a few minutes here and see what we get. That's Grandpa's famous biscuit and scone recipe. Okay guys, our 20 minutes is up. Our scones are ready to come out of this hot old oven. Make sure you wear a mitt when you bring them out. Maybe 2 if you got them. I need 1 because I can handle this pan with 1. And here, my friends, are some of the most excellent scones you've ever tried. I mean, they are good. So set them down here on the old hot pad. And we'll get us out a little plate. And we will go and cook us a couple of eggs and have eggs and scones for breakfast this morning. Along with a little cup of coffee, but let me just sample one for you here. You wouldn't believe how good the smell is in the kitchen this morning. So we'll take this nice little dainty one from the end here. Yeah. Because that looks the best. And you got to have a little coffee. I just poured me out a fresh cup. So here we go. Clean the old palate up with a little coffee. Just to die for, friends. But I sure do miss the pecans. If you got them, chop some up and throw in there. That's really good. I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed my little biscuit and scone cooking, and we'll see you after a while, babies. Rock and